Alright, so with a title like that, certainly this video is going to be filled with nothing but reasonable, level-headed takes. And it won't just be me getting angrier and angrier the more I talk about this topic, right? It won't just be that, right? Yeah, let's get into it. Hey, Double D, and right out the gate, I'm not some WoW-hating aficionado. I don't get off on playing the game 200 hours deep just to turn around and say, yeah, there's not really much to it, it kind of sucks. If anything, you look at my past videos, it's mostly just a bunch of shitty jokes, but at worst, I'm cranking this thing up to a nice solid half chub. But this past week, the Mythic Plus system has been grinding my gears into the dirt and making me look at every corner of a table like it's a suitable option for my forehead. So what is Mythic Plus? Mythic Plus is what you log on to do and hope none of your guildies see you because they'll want to join the group, but you know they're going to brick your key because the last time you ran together, they pulled 3 extra packs, wiped the group, and then said, damn, I don't know what happened. I would just hit tab. Jesse. No, Mythic Plus is WoW's in-game pillar of content for small 5-man group play. It is an infinitely scaling experience in that as you push a key higher and higher to access a dungeon, the mobs get more health, they deal more damage, or maybe there's some special affixes and mutators that you have to interact with that can alter your gameplay, or maybe the group composition that you bring to the dungeon, things like that. It is infinitely scaling so that the better you get or the better gear that you get, you can always have something to tackle that you're getting better and better at, hopefully, until you reach a max point that you cannot go any higher, right? And the rewards scale up to an extent based on what you're tackling. And a quick disclaimer, I'm not upset about dungeon levers or the difficulty of dungeons, the scaling of them, or the affixes that Blizzard insists must be inflicted upon the dungeon hearing population. I'm not even mad about the timer. Even though I think it's dumb and I hate that it exists, there are some people that like that feature and they like interacting with it and how it alters their gameplay. That's fine. People are allowed to have fun. Do I fucking like it? No, not one bit. But whatever. That's not even what's got me so riled up. What's got me so mad is the key depletion. And I feel like no matter what level you're playing at, you could get behind this. You could get behind what's got me so pissed off about this particular mechanic of the Dungeon Mythic Plus experience. So in relation to that experience, I have, this past week, 3 separate encounters or instances of being trapped within this vicious cycle of key depletion that has sent me into the stratosphere of being pissed off about it. So much so that I've decided to make this video, no script, no prep work, no nothing, just me spitting about something that has got me a little riled up. So if you're unfamiliar with what key depletion is, this is the way it works. So when you have a mythic dungeon key, you show up to a dungeon with a group of 4 other idiots who are all gonna fuck you, and you put the key in and it scales the dungeon up. If you complete the dungeon within the timer, it goes up in difficulty for the next random dungeon that you get. So say you had a 10, it can go to an 11. Or if you complete it even faster than that, you can get a 12. And once you have that new key, that's the progression. You go into the harder dungeon, doing harder content, hopefully with some increased rewards. If you fail the dungeon run for any reason, you miss the timer, either you stop, you quit, the group falls apart, you missed it by 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 hours, doesn't matter, it goes down in level. So that 10 now becomes a 9. And in order to get back to a 10, you got to go run that 9 to push it to a 10. Or higher if you do that 9 fast enough. And the fun part about this is no matter what level of keys that you're doing, this stays a staple of the system all throughout. So when I say this happened to me 3 times this past week, I don't mean I did 100 dungeons and this happened in 3 of them. I mean across 2 different play sessions, this same bullshit happened 3 times, and I only let it happen 3 times because by the 3rd one, I was so damn mad and angry at the system, I said, I'm done doing this shit altogether. And I was pissed off enough to make this. So I'm running keys, and when I do that, I just run my own key. I don't try to get into Mythic Plus groups because there's like 100 applicants for every 11 and 12 or 10 that gets posted. It's just not worth it. It's a waste of time to me. So I just run my own shit. So I post my key up. I'm running with a guildie of mine. He's decent. And then we grab 3 other pugs. So I've gotten 11 because from the previous week I had pushed it high enough to start with the 11. So we run into the 11, clear it, no problem. Easy. Push it to a 12. Make a new group. Get some guys together. We're going into Arakara City of Echoes. Here we go. Some of you may be familiar with this dungeon. Some of you may know that there's a large trash pool that a lot of tanks will want to do, where they pull a bunch of trash up to the first mini-boss. And you just, as long as you get a bunch of interrupts, you can take it down pretty reasonably well. It's fine. You don't have to do it. It's not absolutely necessary, but this is the MDI after all, so we gotta. So we load into the dungeon, we all buff up, our tank says, yo, I'm pulling to the first mini-boss, keep up. And that is exactly what we do. We start off the dungeon, we are within the first minute of the dungeon. He's pulling trash, he doesn't go all the way to the mini-boss, instead he stops short. Then our other pug member, an evoker, decides, okay, well, this is probably a good time to start pulling extra shit off to the side with my body. So he does that, ends up freaking out and flying across that room, pulls the mini-boss, and this, of course, leads to a group-wide wipe, which we all instantly respawn, again, right at the start of the dungeon, and my buddy and I start just running back because we figure, oh, well, maybe we'll still try to time it. The tank jumps off the ledge, kills himself, leaves the group, says something to the evoker about he's boosted, and then the rest of the group falls apart, obviously. We can't finish it, all within the first 2 minutes of this gameplay experience. And so then, thankfully, that means that my 12 is now back down to an 11. Ah, immaculate, wonderful. So, my buddy and I run it back. We take that 11, we get a new group, and we push it this time up to a 13. Great! 13 Dawnbreaker. Easy. This dungeon's totally reasonable. The difficulty is fine. You know, we're built for this. We've got the gear. We're able to handle having to occasionally interrupt. It's not a problem. We grab some more dudes, we show up to the 13 Dawnbreaker, and we're cruising. Again, we get to about, I don't know, maybe the 3rd or 4th minute after the first couple trash packs, and you gotta start flying off to the other ships. Well, hey, guess what? Our tank couldn't. The ship spawned, and when he went to mount, his character phased through the ship, got stuck behind a banner in the little captain's cabin, and he could not escape. He couldn't leap, he couldn't charge, he couldn't intervene out, he couldn't mount and then dismount, he couldn't push his character out from behind this banner. We had a full group together, we were cruising, and again, within the first 4 minutes, lost the key due to a bug. Alright, so that 13 Dawnbreaker is now a 12 Dawnbreaker, thanks to a nifty little bug. I love it so much, it's so good. But you know, it's not knocked down to an 11. I'm not going to have to push it up a 3rd time, right? I'd already done it twice. It's still a 12. There's still some IO to get there. Great. Now, I was pissed off enough to say, I'm done running dungeons today. I'm sick of this shit. We'll pick it up tomorrow, and that's exactly what we did. So my buddy and I, we group back up, we grab some fellas, and we head over to the 12 Dawnbreaker. And so we're cruising through this dungeon, we're killing the trash, we down the first boss, and we get to the point where you gotta fly down into the city and start clearing out these lieutenants before the second boss. Well, as we are flying down into the city, and before we pull the pack, the tank says, hey, hard pull coming up. We're gonna lust here. Lust. I need you to lust. And we gotta do this hard pull. It's gotta be tough because this is the MDI, and otherwise we're not gonna make the leaderboards. So he goes down, does the big pull. There's a ton of mobs on the screen. Everything is popping off. Tons of interrupts, a lot of group damage, and the shaman never presses lust. Doesn't do it. And as a result, we end up not being able to kill stuff fast enough, and before they start to die off, our group starts to die off. The healer dies, then the shaman dies, and the tank dies. And then my buddy and I are close behind. And at this point, obviously, you know what's coming next. Nothing but flaming. Everyone's talking about, you're boosted, you're a piece of shit, you suck. Why didn't you press lust? It's one button. You got one job. I'm not here to defend the shaman for not pressing lust. Fuck you. But why that we've made it this far and I'm in this deep now with this dungeon, that 12 is becoming an 11 because the group dissolves, everyone leaves, they quit, it's over. Now that 13 Dawnbreaker that was doable is an 11. For the third time in the past 5 dungeons, I have to push the 11 back to a 12. Why? Why? I've proved that I can do 11s, man. Why can't I just start back at the 12? Why can I not just run it back? Why can't we just go again? I've got to hit another hour and a half of dealing with a dungeon run just to get the opportunity to do the shit that is the next logical progression point for the dungeons. Why do I have to do that? How many 11s do I gotta run? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. How much punishment do I have to suffer before I'm allowed to just engage in the content that's the next progression step? Why do I have to be reset? Why do I have to keep proving that, yeah, I can run fucking 11s? I don't need to run them. I don't want to run them. I don't even want to engage with that part of the system. Why does it keep going down? The rewards are already reduced to the point that no one even wants to finish this shit to begin with. No one cares. It's not worth it. I don't blame anybody for leaving. I'm not mad at the people not pressing their buttons, really. I don't really care. If the dungeon group falls apart or we can't complete it, no big deal. But why do you have to penalize me further? Have I not been fucked enough? What? Do I have to turn around while you're fucking me and say, yeah, this is even better, you could make it worse? Who's asking for this? Who wants this mechanic? And I know you could say, well, just get good, just do the 12, don't fail. Brother, yeah, but pick whatever level you want. It doesn't matter. If you're trying to progress keys at a super high level, maybe you're trying to do 15s and 16s, you still suffer the same fate. If you fail it, but you can do 15s and you're trying to work on doing 16s, now you just have to do a 15 that you don't really give a shit about because you've already progressed past that point. I don't show up to a raid fight and my guild's working on Kaiveza, we fail and wipe, and now we've got to go back and kill Brood Twister again to prove that we deserve to be there. And I get that that's not even a good comparison, right? Raid boss fights, it's handled differently. You're not on a timer, it's good content. You just get to progress a fight over and over. No matter how many pulls and wipes that you have, you can come back in. You can even extend the lockout and pick right back up where you left off. You're capable of doing that. It's different content. I understand that. It's not infinitely scaling content like the dungeons are. So let's compare them to something that does scale up, right? How about delves? And now I get the tuning on delves, especially at the beginning in the expansion, was just nonsensical. It's Willy Wonka. It doesn't matter. It's all made up. With delves, the tiers go up and things get harder. There are even some affixes. It's similar, in a way, to the Mythic Plus system. And you can even do it with a group. You don't have to do it solo. You can do it with other people. And at a certain point, that was a hell of a lot easier. And it's the only way they were completable. But nonetheless, it scales up and it's content that you can step into to kind of challenge yourself some, right? And if you go into a tier 11 delve and you can't quite do it because the mechanics one-shot you like a dungeon boss does, or something like that, or you wipe and you can't complete it, there's no timer, but nonetheless, you got a set amount of lives. And maybe you brick it. You don't get kicked out and say, oh, well, now I've got to do a tier 10 before I'm allowed to attempt the tier 11 again. That doesn't happen. And it shouldn't happen with the Mythic Plus system either. And balance changes don't even really matter. Or at least not that they address the root cause of the problem, the important part. Yeah, you can buff classes to where they deal more damage or nerf dungeons to where they're way less deadly. And you might see key completion rates at certain levels go up. It might be that people are accessing a lot higher level content, or way more people are completing what they were previously. That's fine, but it doesn't address the issue that no matter whether you're going 7 to 8, 11 to 12, or 15 to 16, you still have to engage with this part of the system. It seems very ass backwards, and the only option, really, is to not deplete at all. Just never deplete your ki. Always run shit that you're able to complete and do complete, regardless of what happens within the dungeon. Whether your tank gets stuck behind a flag, or shithead Sammy Shaman can't plus lust on the big pack. But why did we do the big pack anyway to begin with? Oh wait, I forgot, we're actually competing right this very moment to have the rank 1 parse for 12 Dawnbreaker, you fucks. You have sent me into another dimension, and I feel like I'm going through a whirlwind of pissed off. Why am I here? Who is this? Why does this dick say, what's wrong with the Death Knight's IO? He's only 2,700. Can he run a 12? Yeah, you fucking prick. You're the one that bricked my key. Okay, we good? We back? We're back. You're already punished enough. The rewards are reduced. And not only that, when you're running dungeons throughout the week, you don't even really give a shit about the reward from the dungeon at a certain point, because it's not even rewarding you with the best gear that you have possible to get. That comes from your vault, which you gotta wait for to show up on Tuesdays. It doesn't even matter. That aspect of it is honestly totally removed. And if you're capped on crests, who gives a shit if you get more of a lower tier crest? None of this matters. I just cannot understand why this is a thing that has stuck around for so long. And why it's not even been tested for an alternative. Why is there not even a season that comes out, like I don't know, season 4, where instead of, yeah, we made all the dungeon bosses' names backwards. Isn't that crazy? How about you do a season where the key doesn't fucking deplete? How about that? How about you test some important shit? How about any of that ever being up for debate? Why? Who is asking for this shit? I honestly think I'm being thrown into the twisting nether, and Illidan's not even here to save me. These are my scars! Anyway, this has just put me right back into a toxic mindset with my people that I'm playing with the other players, with the pugs. It's like I'm right back in a League of Legends lobby, and now my bot lane's pissed off yelling at someone, oh, you don't know how to play AD carry, you don't know how to press lust, your forehead's too big, and you could probably knock out the biggest table known to man. I know that. So mad. The system is so stupid. Why does it exist? Who asked for that? Who said, man, I really wish that there was just some way for me to get fucked twice as hard? Does anyone know? Does anyone know if there's a way to possibly get reduced rewards, waste my time twice as much, and have people mad at me and yelling at each other, and I can also have to do it again? Does anyone know of a way to do that? Does anyone know? What do you think? Fuck. It's like, what? Yeah. Dude. Man, you get it, even if it's your guildies, it's just setting you up to be pissed off at them. You hear me, Jesse? You fucker, man. You're bricking 10s, dude. Like, what are you doing? Why do we have to keep running 9s? Fuck.